Good evening, good evening. This is your man Eighth, back at you with another one. Just wanted to come to you today once again with another important topic. I think is important personally, and I'm really kind of going over the same topic that I went over with a video I put out about a week ago about Flint, Michigan, and the Flint, Michigan water crisis, and what happened with Flint, Michigan, and that there was a major lawsuit against the government in Flint, Michigan because of a change in the water supply that was going into the city of Flint. And what happened with that change was lead contamination leaking into this new water supply going into the city, which led to a lawsuit of $626 million because this lead affected the residents of Flint, Michigan. Well, today I want to come to you with a sort of a solution that I have been looking at, because Flint, Michigan is not the only place in America, and I'm sure even in the world, that has lead contamination in their pipes, in their drinking water, right? There are plenty of agencies that report on this type of stuff. So, according to some reports, Flint, Michigan definitely is not the only place. Places like Chicago, Cleveland, New York City. I definitely believe New York City. I remember going to New York City even back in the 1980s as a child and drinking some of that tap water, or no, not drinking the tap water. Brushing my teeth with the tap water in New York City, in the Bronx, at my cousin's house. And I was like, I felt like I was going to die or something, because there was so many chemicals in that water in New York City. And anybody from New York, they know what I'm talking about. I still live in the Northeast, but I don't live in New York. So New York City, Detroit, Milwaukee, Denver, there are reports from certain agencies that check on this stuff in the environment of the states, that, there's a major problem with lead contamination, right? So this agency called the NRDC did an analysis, right? So this analysis was done in 2020. So they said that 186 million people in the United States drink water from systems detecting lead levels exceeding the level of 1 part per billion, right? By the American Academy of Pediatrics to protect children from lead in school water fountains. I mean, it exceeds it, especially for children. And when I was studying the Flint, Michigan water crisis, so lead affects children even more than adults. it can cause developmental problems. More than 61 million people were served by drinking water systems that detected lead levels that exceed the limit of 5 parts per billion set by the Food and Drug Administration for bottled water, which NRDC recommends as a tap water standard. So 61 million people drinking water from systems that exceeds 5 parts per billion. There's another standard. 7 million people were served by systems that exceeded the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency's lead action level of 15 parts per billion level that is supposed to trigger additional actions by water systems to reduce their lead levels. And some of us wonder why there is, major problems with people's health in America. It may be because there's something in the water. Black people used to sing a song during slavery, where they say, wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water, something's gonna get you in the water. That was during slavery times. Well, I think we need to wade in the water today, because something is getting us in the water, right? So some of the states in the United States that are reported to have the most lead levels are Illinois and Florida, right? And I believe that. The Environmental Protection Agency says Florida has the most lead pipes in the United States. Some 9.2 million lead pipes carry water into homes across the U.S., with more in Florida than any other state. That's something else. And the crazy thing is, some people think that you can boil water to remove lead, and you can't. What actually will happen, it will increase the concentration of lead if you try to boil lead out of water. And I'm sure some people have actually tried that. Lead poisoning. Get this, right? According to the Mayo Clinic, lead poisoning can lead to high blood pressure. In the United States, there are millions upon millions of people that have high blood pressure. Right? I'll look that up. So, according to AI, good old AI, in the U.S., high blood pressure or hypertension affects nearly half of all adults. So, that's probably about in the hundreds of millions that have high blood pressure. Now, I'm not saying it's because of lead. I'm just saying lead in the water could contribute to that problem. So we definitely have an infrastructure problem here in the United States with our pipes that is leading to a lot of different illnesses. So lead poisoning can also cause joint and muscle pain. There's not a day that doesn't go by if I run into somebody my age in their 40s, right? And they don't complain about their joints. Now, I'm not saying it's because of the lead in the water, because a lot of people don't really drink tap water, but you do brush your teeth with it. You do shower. You shower in it. And some of us, we cook our food in it. And, you know, we might drink some tea with it or drink some coffee with it. So, you know, sometimes we do drink tap water, but in various forms. Lead can cause difficulty in memory and concentration. It can cause headaches, mood disorders, reduced sperm counts, abnormal sperm, miscarriages, premature births in women, according to the Mayo Clinic. So the government really needs to step up and do something about this problem with our waterways. But there is a solution. So there's a man named Moses West who has a foundation and a mission to supply clean drinking water to people via his machine, which is called an atmospheric water generator, which pulls water out of the air, and this machine converts that air into water, into clean drinking water. There's been plenty of examples where he has done this. He did it in Flint, Michigan during that crisis. He did it in Puerto Rico when Puerto Rico had the crisis of, or the storm called Hurricane Maria, when they were without water during that period in time. And he has helped different places in the world with his machine. To give them clean drinking water. He's even suggested, I've been following him and just trying to understand how this process works, where you could have one of these machines in your home to produce clean drinking water, or to just produce water throughout the home. That will be pulled out of the air into the machine, then back into the house. And that's not a far-fetched concept, because I've traveled to places like Bermuda in the past, and Bermuda has houses that collect water, rainwater, on their roofs. And then the roofs have pipes connected to them. These pipes go into a filtration system in the basement of these houses. And then these filtration systems send the water, after it's cleaned through the filtration system, back into the house to be used for a shower, toilet, dishes, sink, brushing your teeth, washing your face. And it works. It works for them. Right, because that's a very, very small island nation, and I don't really think they have too many natural water sources like rivers and lakes. No, they don't, because it's a very small place. So they have to rely on rainwater coming down to their roofs to go into their basements. So that's how that would work. That's how I imagine how that would work, like the houses in Bermuda. Okay? Because we have an issue. We have an issue all over this country with lead in our drinking water. So, not only Florida, Illinois, and these lead levels mainly are high enough to harm children. So, if there's something going on with the children in America, right? It could be that they're being affected by the lead that's in the water. That's not a far-fetched concept. That's not a conspiracy theory. Water can be tested. The water that comes into your home that you may use or your children may use just to simply brush their teeth can be tested. So Illinois, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, California, Texas. Some of these states are some of the highest populations in the United States, especially California, Texas, and New York. That's where a lot of people live in the United States. Very high concentration of people. And Florida has the most lead pipes. Okay. So I think Mr. West's mission should be taken very seriously. According to his site, thus far he has produced 5 million gallons of clean water, right, for different projects that he's been involved in. Like I said, Puerto Rico, Flint, Michigan, and there are others. And so Puerto Rico, there are other Caribbean islands. They may not have water issues, but they may have infrastructure issues that they're not even aware of. Or maybe they don't even have agencies like we have here in the United States to test the water that's going into their homes to see if some of the pipes that lead to their homes are lead infested. Okay? So that's important that we be aware of this, right? And Mr. West's machine be used all throughout the United States and really all throughout the world. He is his one of his biggest contractors, I believe he said, is the United States military. So they're well aware of water problems, right? And then you have places throughout the world, especially in the Middle East, desert-like places that don't have natural water supplies, lakes and rivers, or they don't get a lot of rainfall because there's not a lot of trees not a lot of trees and not enough soil to collect the rainwater. It's this desert. And then you have things like global warming, where the earth is warming, right? And lakes and rivers are drying up. And people in places, especially Europe, some of their lakes and rivers are drying up. The levels are going down. So what are they going to do in the future to sustain their populations with drinking water? So these machines, these atmospheric water generator machines, should be a part of every government on the face of this earth, in my opinion. Even if you don't have water problems right now, it's potentially you could have them in the future, right? So that's really all I wanted to say today. I don't want to be on here too long, but pay attention to that. Your water supply and the water that you're consuming and using, and potentially giving to your children whose bodies can't process lead the way an adult's body can process lead. And also pay attention to things like high blood pressure, because it's a fact that lead in the water can contribute to that condition. And in the United States, according to the report I'm looking at right now, nearly half of the adults in the United States have hypertension, which is wild to me. Like, I don't understand why everybody has hypertension. Half of the adults. How many adults are in the United States? I'm gonna look that up real quick. 1 second. Okay. So there's 260 million adults in the United States. So that would be 130 million people with high blood pressure in the United States. Like, that's a lot of people with that problem. High blood pressure can shorten your lifespan. So really want to pay attention to this. I think it's a national emergency, personally. If we have all this lead in our waters and some of the biggest concentrations of people in the United States, where people live, I think we're headed towards a catastrophe, because that can only increase, as people move into cities and places where there's a lot of economic activity, because there's a lot of people, and then they're consuming this water in some way, right? I think that could be a catastrophe in the future, personally. So let's watch out for that. I thank you for listening. Once again, if you like what you heard, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. This is The Eighth Mind. Thank you for listening once again. God bless. Have a good day.